Hi, everybody. Michael P. Spradlin back with The Enemy Above, Chapter 17. Once again, remember that you can search hashtag authors give back and hashtag authors take action to find all kinds of authors out there reading and sharing activities and information about their books. And also search the hashtag books are essential. So I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you will be back. Your life will be back to normal soon, and this will all just be a distant memory. But let's remember when we're out there. Let's be kind to each other. Let's watch out for each other, and let's pull together to defeat this virus and get our lives back. So let's jump into Chapter 17 of The Enemy Above. The half-track had been half a kilometer away when Anton had reached the edge of the road. Carefully, he grabbed small handfuls of nails and tossed them around the path until it was covered. The nails were darkened by rust and blended in well with the dirt road. He set the can down and retreated back into the field. Now he would watch and wait. He watched as the half-track approached. It had two front rubber tires like a truck, but the rear was powered by metal treads like those found in a tank. The rear of the vehicle was open like a truck bed, and there was a searchlight and machine gun mounted on the roof of the cab. Anton would not be able to destroy the treads, but if he could flatten the rubber tires, it would be impossible to steer. Anton held his breath. It would be entirely possible for the half-track to roll right over the nails without a problem. It would require luck for one of them to pierce the tires. But this was his only plan. If the Gestapo made it to the road to Borda, he would never be able to keep up. He would lose Buba. Two loud popping sounds cut through the night air, and the half-track pitched to the right. It had worked. Both front tires went flat, and the driver lost control of the vehicle. It bounced off the road and into the potato field, where it lurched to a stop and sank in the soft soil. "Was ist passiert?" the major shouted. What happened? He issued another command, and the four soldiers exited the vehicle and took up positions around the half-track, their guns at the ready. Anton thought the Germans looked as if they were about to be attacked by one of the militias or Ukrainian partisans. If they only knew they'd been felled by a 12-year-old boy. Ausbreiten, the major shouted. Each man chose a direction and crept cautiously forward. Anton knew he was lucky. Now that the men had stopped, they were nervous and could not risk turning on the searchlight for fear of making themselves a target. He watched as the soldiers spread out, carefully moving away from the half-track. One of them was headed right toward Anton. He could see the man silhouetted against the night sky, and the Nazi was not deviating from his course. What could Anton do? He dared not move. He had no weapon, no way to defend himself. In another 30 meters, the soldier would run right into him. Anton curled inward, pulling his legs and arms closer to himself. He offered up a silent prayer and buried his face. Whatever happened now was out of his hands. As he waited, he could hear the soldier's footsteps drawing closer. He would not lift his head to see how close the man was. If he looked, he might be spotted, and if he was spotted, he would surely be gunned down. Sweat soaked his clothes. It took all of his concentration to control his breathing. His nose itched, and he longed to scratch it, but any movement now could spell death. Dry weeds and twigs crunched beneath the soldier's feet. Each step sounded like a cannon shot. Anton guessed the man was no farther than 10 meters away now. Every muscle in his body tensed as he waited for discovery. He braced for the gunshot that would surely come. "I'm sorry, Buba," he thought to himself. "I tried. I did not know what else to do. Please forgive me." "Halton!" he heard the major shout. "Come and see!" The major was ordering the men to return to the half-track. Slowly and cautiously, Anton raised his head and saw the back of the soldier who had been about to trip over him only moments earlier. The major stood next to the vehicle, with Buba, Rena, and David clustered nearby. Quietly, Anton rose to his hands and knees and crept toward the group. He needed to hear what the major would do next. Most likely, he would radio to Borda for another truck to come pick them up, but he did not think the major was stupid. In fact, he was counting on it. A smart man would start walking toward Borda and have the truck meet them on the road. Waiting here, they were exposed. The major and his men discussed what to do. Buba, Rena, and David huddled off to the side. The men spoke loudly, and Anton used the noise of their voices to cover his approach. He was close enough to hear them clearly now. They were speaking quickly, but he managed to understand that they had radioed for someone to pick them up, but there were no available vehicles at the moment. Anton thought about what he should do now. He had been focused on stopping the half-track, but now that he had done that, he didn't know what to do next. He would need to think of another way to distract them, something to make them forget about Buba long enough to spirit her away. Morning was coming soon. He needed to work quickly. The major barked out an order, and the group started marching. In single file, he took the lead. Two of his men followed behind him. Buba, Rena, and David after that, then the other two men brought up the rear. They marched along the road, and Anton's heart leapt at the sight of Bubba's shadow, her body bent at the waist and her ever-present walking stick rapping the ground with every shuffling step. He knew she was old, but he also realized that Bubba would do anything to slow them down, delay them, or otherwise cause trouble. But that came with consequences. And it was why Anton ached to get her away from the Gestapo before more of them showed up and his options dwindled. When they traveled a safe distance, Anton rose and began to follow them. But he stayed in the field. If one of the soldiers suddenly looked behind him, Anton didn't want to be seen. A few minutes later, the group reached the road toward Borda and turned with Anton at their heels. As he walked, he tried desperately to come up with a plan to free his grandmother. He was running out of time. And that's the end of chapter 17, and we'll be back tomorrow with chapter 18. Take care, everyone.